spoke with Advoy. His father passed away the other evening, so he's in Italy looking after the details now.
Yes, we received this news that a couple of friends passed away this week. One
Hmm.
was Mali, wise Bhishma Dev was one of the wise Vasus who appear in the constellations as stars. So really, he and his brothers were stars that fell from heaven. And were condemned to walk the earth for a certain time. And they were delivered by Ganges herself, who bore them into this world and then immediately went down to the river to send their souls back to the heavens. Uh, so the ones who were taken early were fortunate. They were the fortunate Vasus because they suffered for some time uh, having to walk the earth, but then immediately returned to the heavens. Whereas Bhishma was condemned to live a long time. So it's difficult when someone young is taken or leaves the planet or passes away. Uh, but we have faith in the eternal soul. So the real pain is not for Malati. The pain is on us because we miss her. The, the suffering is with us. She's no longer suffering. Uh, and Adwai's father, bless his soul, uh, is also no longer suffering. But Bhishma Dev, in his old age, he was already praying for death. He was praying that let the sun come into the right position so that I can leave this world, because now it's my time. So we all have our time. We don't know when that time will come, but we have faith in the eternal soul, and we have faith in Krishna and bhakti, divine love. And we hope that uh, what we find on the other side uh, will be even better than what we have now. Those of us who live are very lucky that we wake up in the morning and find the sun shining and the sky blue and the birds singing and the children playing. We're very fortunate to have that. So Srila Sri Ramanuja tells us every wave is favorable. Learn to see it that way. It's very important. Instead of fighting a battle against everyone and the world and thinking, I'm surrounded by demonic forces, I'm living in the iron age of cruel technology, murder, and Kali Yuga. One needs to see every wave as being favorable. After all, it's his mercy. So if Adwai is watching this, uh, we pray for your father's soul. And if the friends of Malati are there, remember her sweet kirtan. And it's nice to think that she's on the way to joining another kirtan in a higher place. When Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj was examined by a cardiologist, the heart doctor put his stethoscope on his chest and listened. And Babaji Maharaj asked him, well, what do you hear? And he said, I hear the drums and kartals of the kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So her intensity for kirtan must have lifted her to a higher place, and we hope that this is so. We must think that this is so. It cannot but be, as Srila Sri Ramarsh used to say. So, getting back to our reading, we're reading from Sri Guru and His Grace, and Srila Sri Ramarsh is talking about the problem of judging Vaishnavas, because in one sense, our inquiry here is directed towards trying to understand what are the qualifications of a guru. But in doing so, in examining so deeply what is the position of someone who represents themselves as guru, or even just other Vaishnavas, that sort of criticism may boomerang on us because oftentimes we're not really in a position to judge other Vaishnavas. So Srila Sri Ramarsh continues, and I'm reading from page 134 from the original edition. Srila Sri Ramarsh says, although sometimes we may judge Vaishnavas according to their different activities, we're not always correct. Because a devotee is chosen for a particular service by the Lord, and whatever the Lord wants to do through him is done by his will. This is the underlying principle. It is his selection. Sometimes the selection comes to A, sometimes to B, and sometimes to C. We are all at the disposal of the Lord's infinite will, and according to his sweet will, according to how Krishna wants to utilize us, our activities will be successful. That is the absolute consideration. We cannot fail to connect success with the medium. There's also some value in that, but we must consider that Krishna is there in the background. We must also understand that the divine will, the highest will, is working through us. So we should not be extreme in judging a devotee according to external considerations. So even the father of Advai Krishna, who didn't like to see the devotees who stole his son, still he would chant Hare Krishna from time to time. He would take the holy name. It's hard to judge a devotee according to external considerations. This is a very important point. Srila Sri Ramarsh continues. He gives a few different examples. He says, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj did not preach. So, again, last week we talked about the position of preachers and those who practice Krishna consciousness more internally. So, Babaji Maharaj, he did not leave any books, but his disciple, our spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, preached with great magnitude. Srila Lokanath Goswami did not preach at all. But we find that the preaching of his only disciple, Srila Narottam Das Thakur, was most extensive. So a Vaishnava should not be judged only by the amount of work that he shows outwardly. We often hear devotees criticizing other devotees, saying, so-and-so, yeah, what has he done? I have built so many temples. This is dangerous talk. We're advised to be humble. Srila Sri Ramarsh says, A Vaishnava should not be judged only by the amount of work that he shows outwardly. His success is at the disposal of the divine will. Krishna awards service to a particular person according to his own choice and enables that person to carry out that service. There are many examples of this. Srila Nityananda Prabhu preached throughout the length and breadth of Bengal with great force, but Srila Gadadhara Pandit, although apparently not doing any tangible service in the Leela of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is said to be Radharani's bhava, transcendental sentiments incarnate, and Gadadhara Pandit's affinity for Mahaprabhu exceeds that of all others. So you can look, you can look at the relative position of different Vaishnavas and try to rate them, but it's very difficult. Gadadhara Pandit, we don't see preaching in the same way as Nityananda Prabhu, and yet before we take the holy name of Krishna, we invoke the name of Gadadhara, Sri Chaitanya Nityananda, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. We invoke Gadadhara Pandit because of his intimacy with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while Nityananda is the greater preacher in a sense. Srila Sri Ramakrishna continues, so we should not judge the position of Vaishnava by the magnitude of his external activities alone. Of course, we cannot ignore the service rendered by a devotee. That is a noble thing. That is a great thing. But ultimately, the key is in the hand of the Lord. Ekala Ishwara Krishna Aras Sababritya. Krishna is at the root of everything, and whatever he wills is successful. Krishna wants to dance in a particular way with a particular servitor, and he successfully dances according to his own sweet will. Krishna is the wire puller, the controller. The key is in his hand. He controls both universal and specific dealing. By understanding this, we can save ourselves from pratishta, or false prestige, the thirst after name and fame. If we are fully conscious of the fact that everything is in the Lord's hands, then we cannot feel any pride. So, to teach us that it is not very easy to recognize the real Vaishnava by his external dress or manners alone, Gadadhara Pandit apparently misunderstood the position of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, an exalted associate of the Lord. So it's possible to look at the life of Gadadhara Pandit and think, well, what is his great service? Where did he preach? What temples has he built? But Gadadhara Pandit himself shows us that it's possible to misunderstand the position of an exalted devotee. And we get this anecdote in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Sri Ramakrishna explains. He says, Gadadhar Pandit was taken by Mukunda Datta to see Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Mukunda Datta came from the same village as Pundarik. Mukunda knew him, and so he asked Gadadhar Pandit, would you like to see a real Vaishnava? Gadadhar Pandit told him, yes, I'm always eager to have the darshan of a real Vaishnava. Then Gadadhar Pandit followed Mukunda Datta to the quarters of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he was dumbfounded by what he saw. What is this, he thought. Here is an aristocrat with curled, scented hair and a stylish, princely dress, smoking a pipe decorated with a golden thread, and the whole room is filled with a sweet scent. He is a Vaishnava? Mukunda Datta could understand Gadadhar's heart and began to sing a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Aho Bhakiyam Stanakalakuram Chigang Shayapayayad Apyasadbi Lebegatim Datriuchitam Tatonyam Kambadayalum Sharanam Brajema. Oh, how amazing it is! The sister of Bakasura, Putana, desiring to kill Sri Krishna, smeared poison on her breasts and forced Krishna to drink their milk. Even so, Lord Krishna accepted her as his mother, and so she reached the destination suitable for Krishna's mother. Of whom should I take shelter but the most merciful Krishna? Upon hearing this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Pundarik Vidyanidhi became very serious. His movements stopped, and then some shivering was apparent in his body. The whole atmosphere was changed. He began to throw his hands and feet left and right. He cast his smoking pipe aside and began to roll on his bed, tearing off his silk clothing and the silk sheets, and pulling out his beautifully curled and decorated hair. He began to cry, "Of whom should I take shelter but the most magnanimous Lord? Where should I take shelter without such a Lord?" With this on his lips, he was rolling on the floor in ecstasy. After a long time, he gradually subsided, and Gadadhar thought to himself, "What did I think about this great personality? He has so much love for Krishna within. Although externally he appears as an ordinary man, a slave of luxury, internally he is a great devotee. What intense love he has for Krishna." Then he thought, "I have committed Vaishnava aparad, an offense to a great devotee. How can I free myself? I thought ill of him. What is the remedy for that offense?" So he thought to himself, and then told Mukunda, I've committed an offense against this great Mahatma. How can I get out of that?" I'm thinking that generally those who come to this devotional line have to formally accept some preceptor, but I have not yet taken initiation from any Vaishnava. If I take initiation from him, he will forgive me and my offenses. He won't take any offense from me if I surrender unto his holy feet. Then only can I get release from this crime. But I have to consult my master, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So he went to consult with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometime before this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seen calling the name of Pundarik and crying, "Pundarik, my father, Pundarik, where are you?" In this way, he was suddenly crying. Ordinary people could not understand. They began to ask, "Who is that Pundarik? For whom is the Lord wailing so much? Why is Nimai Pandit crying, Pundarik, Pundarik?" Within a few days, Pundarik came from another village to his Navadvip house. Mukunda Datta was his co-villager, so he knew Pundarik. When the devotees inquired, "Who is this Pundarik?" Mukunda Datta answered, "Pundarik has got a small estate. He's a well-to-do married man." So Ganadhar Pandit asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about Pundarik Vidyanidhi, saying, "I have committed an offense against the great Vaishnava, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So, for my own spiritual good, I feel the necessity to take initiation from him. But without consulting you and getting your consent, I can't do anything. I put it before you. What should I do?" Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu welcomed the idea, saying, "Yes, This is very good. You must accept him as your guru. It is said by authoritative sources that Pundarik Vidyanidhi was the father of Radharani. He was an incarnation of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So Gadadhar Pandit took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. In this way, we should not be extreme in judging a devotee only by his external activities. Wow. Well, that's pretty powerful. Of course, no one can imitate. See, you can't think, well, what was Pundarik Vidyanidhi smoking? This will not be a good idea. You can't copy the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu. There was one devotee of Nityananda Prabhu who carried a whip. I can't remember his name right now, but he would whip somebody with his whip, and they would experience transcendental symptoms of prema bhakti. This cannot be imitated. Whatever Pundarik Vidyanidhi was smoking, we can't think, well, this is what I need to do. If I get some nice clothes and a big silk turban and a fine feather and golden slippers and relax on a mahogany couch with lots of pillows and smoke opium from a gold pipe, then I too will be like Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Imitation is fatal. Be your own man. Follow your own path. Or as Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to say, Nijar Cherka Tel Dao. Oil your own machine. In the days of Gandhi, he liked the idea that everybody could produce a little bit of cloth, and this way put Britain out of business. And so the spinning wheel is on the flag of India. But there's a saying, don't try to instruct your friend in how to oil his machine. Oh, your machine is squeaky. Oil your own machine. I remember I used to, when we were at the Blue House, the rented house down the street from the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, there was this rented house owned by some landowners. I don't know, but in the mornings we used to, it was so hot. We would get on the roof and watch the sun come up over the Ganges and chant our japa. And one devotee, sannyasi, who was known to all, I won't mention his name, an eccentric Kiwi, put it that way. He would stroll behind me as I was chanting my japa and he was chanting his japa. And he then would stop me and say, Prabhu, 3 beads ago, you chanted the name Rama 3 times, and you chanted the name Krishna only twice. Look to it. And I thought, wow, this man is a genius. How did he know that? And I really, took care to make sure I was properly chanting the mantra. But looking back, I would not do that with another devotee. You know, once I played guitar with a flamenco guitarist, who had a lot of pretension, and I would sort of back him. And every now and then he would reach over and grab one of the tuning pegs on my guitar and move it, like he could hear I was a microtone out of tune. This is not our business, Nijar Cherka Tel Dao. Oil your own machine. That's a good message, you know. And imitation is fatal. In the 1950s, the great saxophonist Charlie Parker, he was brilliant. He invented bebop. He played incredible lines and so fast, nobody could really understand him. But if you listen to it carefully, you could see this is a brilliant composition. He did it just out of thin air. And but he was addicted to heroin, having, I don't know, he was in the war or something. They gave him morphine. Later on, he was addicted to heroin. So all these musicians subsequent in the 1950s and 60s, they thought, if I just inject heroin, I will be able to play saxophone like Charlie Parker. Or people thought, if I take LSD, I can play guitar like Jimi Hendrix. But this sort of imitation is a very dangerous thing. But one needs to recognize a genius when one sees a genius. You see Charlie Parker, you know, in spite of the fact that he was a heroin addict, he made great music. In spite of the fact that he took LSD, Jimi Hendrix was everybody loves him and thinks he was the greatest guitarist ever. I have my doubts because he couldn't read music, so how could he be the greatest? But, you look at any list of great electric guitarists in the 1960s, Jimi Hendrix is at the top. But if you take LSD, that will not help you. That will not be a good path. So what's the takeaway? Not that we try to imitate Pundarik Vijayanidhi and his unusual eccentricities, but that sometimes you see a great devotee and his behavior is a little odd, it's a little eccentric. You have to try to see beyond that. Srila Sri Ramakrishna used to listen to the radio. He would also read the newspaper. And then somebody, it was Tirtha Maharaj, I think, he said, or Bon Maharaj, he said, Srila Sri Ramakrishna, if he's reading the newspaper or if he's reading the Vedas, it's the same thing. Because as he's reading the newspaper, he's only finding confirmation of what he knows from the Bhagavatam. And he may use that to appeal to someone's sense of logic by showing them, well, this is what you think is the real world over here, and it corresponds to what we find in the Shastras over there. But there was no vice in his reading of the newspaper. But if you or I read the newspaper, it may contaminate our brain. I don't know. Anyways, my voice is a little tired this morning, so as we finish this chapter, the next chapter is especially intimate because it talks about the line of Sri Rupa. And having tackled Gadadhara Pandit, I don't have the spiritual acumen to proceed with Srila Rupa Goswami. I need more mercy. So I'm hoping maybe Malati Devi will put in a good word for me, or maybe the father of Pundarik, I'm sorry, maybe the father Adwai Krishna Prabhu will put in a good word for me with the higher ups, and I'll consult with my higher authorities to see what I can say about the line of Sri Rupa. Questions, comments, corrections? Hello. I'm amazed at the mercy that you all are showing me. It's incredibly humbling because who am I to utter the name of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, But you all have some kind of mercy to show me, goad me into being the mouthpiece for this book. So I thank you all, and I thank Pranashish and Shivashini. We hope you have a good flight. When is your flight?
It's tomorrow night from here.
Oh, a night flight.
Yes.
Okay,
So I'll
cool.
be there in Dublin in the morning, Tuesday morning. Yeah.
I can remember, in my life, one of the most fantastic encounters I've had with reality was standing on the tarmac somewhere, maybe in Bombay or maybe it was New Delhi, all by myself, alone, and facing immigration officials dressed in, combat fatigues, green combat fatigues, handing over my passport and having like a couple of $100 and no destination in mind, uh, and being at the mercy of a couple of immigration people and thinking, where do I go from? Are they going to let me go? Will they put me in, the jail or something? Here I am in India. What will happen to me? Of course, I was blessed by Krishna in so many ways, blessed by the devotees. So, we shower our blessings on you, your airplane, your fellow passengers, the pilot, and whoever else might bring you back home to Wexford, Ireland, so we can continue our talk on
Thank you
this
so
same
much. Yes,
station.
I need the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Thank
Yes,
you so much.
right. Hare Krishna, and we hope, Nityananda Prabhu accompanies you on your flight, and die on, as Srila Sri Maharaj used to say, die on the tie, die on the tie, die on the tie, die on the tie. Hare Krishna, and Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. We'll see you all
Thank you,
next week.
Mahayogi Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.